Welcome to Worthy of Work, the podcast dedicated to helping anyone who's done having lousy, lonely, disappointing relationships and who's ready to do the work to build better connections. I'm Stephanie Rivard, and if you've ever questioned your sanity, wondered if healthy relationships are even real, or wonder if there's anything you can do to attract or create a healthier relationship, you are exactly where you need to be. Together, we will unpack the healthy relationship skills no one taught us. Today, we're going to talk about people pleasing. We're going to discuss why this character defect is so tempting. We're going to talk about how to spot it and how it's different from kindness. Let's dive in. People pleasing is when we say yes, when what we really want to say is no, thank you. People pleasing is when we kind of go along so we can avoid conflict, when we give, help, apologize, agree, or pretend, not because it's true, but because we're afraid of what will happen if we're honest. It's often described as being nice, but it's actually not kindness. It's control. It's controlling how someone sees us, how they feel, or what they might do in response. And it's fear hiding behind helpful. Where does this come from? Well, most of us learned people pleasing at a young age, maybe in a home that was unstable. Maybe love was conditional. Maybe staying quiet kept the peace, and we became really good at reading the room, staying small, smoothing things over. In fact, we probably received some praise for this, about how flexible we are and accommodating and how easy it is to be around you. And this is lovely attributes when it's sincere and genuine, not when it requires us to pretend, to lie to ourselves and to others, to keep the peace and to manage everyone else's emotions. When we lose our sense of self, and people pleasing can become kind of a survival skill. And then when we grow into our adult relationships, it comes right with us, doesn't it? Where it feels like an act of love, but it actually keeps us away from truly being known. Why is this a problem? The truth is, people pleasing is dishonest. We're saying yes with our mouths, but our inside is saying no. And it creates resentment, which is a toxin, it's a poison, like a cancer in our relationships. So that's an unkind thing to do and a reckless thing to do in the relationships we claim to love. We overgive, then feel unappreciated or invisible. It disconnects us to others. And you can't feel loved for who you are if you're always performing, pretending, silencing yourself, hiding your needs to keep the peace. It's not sustainable, and we burn out or explode or slowly disappear from our own life. But some will ask, maybe this is an act of kindness, it's generosity, it's mercy, it's all these lovely things we want to be. And those are great aims to have. But what's the difference between people pleasing and true kindness? People pleasing comes from fear, avoiding guilt, building resentment. It is compulsive and it avoids truth. True kindness and generosity comes out of love. It says yes because it aligns with our values and our true capacity to pour into another person or situation. It builds connections instead of inserting a false front there. And true kindness and generosity is a choice, not that compulsion and knee-jerk reaction. And true kindness allows for honesty. People pleasing is, I don't want you to be mad at me. Kindness is, I want to support you when I can without betraying myself. It is saying I can give and I can decline. Our relationship is strong enough and healthy enough that both can exist here. And that's a gift, not a requirement. If you feel guilty saying no, it wasn't a gift in the first place. It was a survival strategy, an act of control, an act of fear. What does a healthy relationship look like? Well, healthy love doesn't require self-abandonment. It allows for someone to have limits and capacity and to decline things that they can't contribute to have an opinion that contradicts someone else. And you can say, this doesn't work for me, and still be a good friend or partner or parent. It allows for honesty. A healthy relationship doesn't require you to smile through discomfort and pretend that everything is okay when it's not. It allows for freedom. Freedoms for others to be disappointed, and freedom for you to choose how to show up. And here's a question I often ask myself. Am I doing this because I want to, or I can do this, or because I'm afraid not to? And when I ask myself that question, I can start quickly seeing the character defect of people-pleasing, trying to squeak into my motives. And it's my choice. I can choose it. But I can spot it too. And I can choose in that moment, what kind of relationship do I want to have here with this person? Do I want one that has a false foundation that requires me to meet all your needs and to lie to you? Or am I going to dare to be true with you and myself in this moment? And that's the real opportunity here. Because no relationship is built on dishonesty, even the polite kind. Here's my final thoughts on this. You are allowed to be honest. You're allowed to say no without apologizing. You're allowed to pause, to think, to be thoughtful before you answer. You're allowed to disappoint someone without being wrong or defending yourself or explaining, and without the other person being wrong for asking. And here's the good news. When you stop people-pleasing, the right people, like the healthy, safe people, they can find you and love you, not for performance, not for what you can do for them, but for who you are. And they can learn about you and your limits and your interests and your needs. And that is where a true connection is possible. When we remove that people-pleasing mask and show up really for who we are. Connection is possible there. This might look like speaking up and expressing your preference for where you go to dinner. Or this might be speaking up and offering another perspective or insight. This might be speaking up to decline someone's request. And this can be hard. A couple sentences that you could use is, thanks for thinking of me. I wish I could help at this time. I'm not able to take that on. Or, gosh, I would love to pitch in right now. I have too much on my plate. I hope it goes well. We can do this with generosity and love. We can still be a kind person when we are honest about our capacity and stop that people-pleasing system. If any of this is resonating with you, why don't you try this? I invite you just to pause and ask yourself, where in my life am I saying yes when I mean to say no? Where in my life could I show up more honestly and authentically, even if it took some courage to do so? And what would change if I told the truth with love? I hope today's episode has given you a lot to think about, and I just grant you permission to release that people-pleasing and start showing up in more honest ways in your relationships. And if you really want healthy connections, then this is a critical first step. Please like and share this episode and subscribe so you're updated every week on new content to help build healthy relationships. That's it for today's episode. If this resonates with you, please subscribe, share, or leave a review. It helps more people find this work. And remember, I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who once thought dysfunction was pretty normal. I wanted better and learned new tools. And so can you.